If you understand the business side of acting and you realize that, this is a real dangerous trap that I might fall into, just milk it, because it's going to happen to maybe 90%, 99% of us.
As creatives, we get really upset at the typecasting thing, but as people who need to eat and live, the typecasting thing can be a really good thing.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Yaku.
And welcome back to Department Spotlight. It's a show where we talk to our friends and colleagues about, doing what they do best in the film industry or theatre industry or whatever applies to their field.
Today we will be revisiting acting with three of our friends and colleagues from our previous movies. So without any further ado, let's get into it. I'm really excited to get into this. We already did an acting podcast a while ago, but that was sort of like a actors asking actors questions. So this is going to be from Mark and I asking actors questions. So I'm really excited. I think it's going to be really cool. And all of our actor friends have been in Looped Pictures films before. So it's like a reunion.
My name is Adrienne Cameron Ellis. I am an actress. I was in New York for about 2 years. I've been in South Africa for 11 months now in the industry. So hopefully gonna go somewhere.
Well, my name is Leslo Mukhampanyani, but most people just call me Lolo for obvious reasons. And I am an actor.
Okay, hi, I am Kashifa Adams. I am a recent graduate of the Wits School of Arts, of course, the drama department. I am an actor. I also dabble in directing, stage managing, writing. So, have my fingers in as many pies as I can.
Let's start it off nice and easy. Why did each of you want to become an actor?
That's easy, okay. Is that the easy question? In high school, I think this is for a lot of actors, we all had an extramural or a drama teacher in the high school who made you think that this was a thing that you could do for the rest of your life. I always wanted to be a lawyer when I was in high school, and then around grade 9 or grade 10, around subject choice year, my drama coach came up to me and he was like, sorry, this is your future. This is a thing that you should do. I think you're good at it. I think you should do it. And yeah, I did it, and now I'm still here.
Well, the reason I became an actor was, it's an interesting one. For one, I knew that I didn't want to do like a 9-to-5 kind of thing with my life. But I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And the same with Cash. High school came, and I recently moved to a new high school, and I was lucky enough that one of the subjects they had was drama. And then after that, like, I went to 2 lessons and then I just fell in love with it. Then I decided, I think this is what I want to do. And now I'm still doing it.
Well, I mean, it's quite difficult to say, because you listen to all these inspiring stories of why other people want to become an actor or an actress, but then you talk to someone who's like a lawyer or an engineer and whatever, and you ask them, so why did you decide to become a lawyer or an engineer? And they're like, I don't know. I was good at math, and that just never worked for me. So, in a way, it's because acting has always been inspiring in some form or another. So, like also high school came for me, and then I realized, okay, I don't have to be good at math anymore because now I can. I've already decided, like, I'm going to go into the arts industry. And, if I don't make it in the arts industry, there is always the option of getting a job somewhere.
Okay, so was there, for each of you, was there like a movie that you saw or like a play that you saw? Maybe, I don't know, in high school, they took you to this like theater and you just saw this thing and you were like, yes, that's the thing. What was the first sort of performance that you saw that really left an impression on you?
Earliest one I can think of is actually even before high school. I went to a live show of, if I remember, was the Jungle Book. And I just enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And what made it really important to me is I also went to go watch on my birthday. And so I don't know, it was like maybe like a switch kind of almost flipped. And I was like, maybe this. But I was like, oh, that's fun to watch. And then I don't know, I just got intrigued, really.
I must say, intrigued is the right word, because you get like a little bit curious, and then you go do some research about it, and then you're like, oh, and it's like a whole new world opens up for you. Yeah. So for me, like, I was tiny, probably. This is a movie that came out when I was like 3, so it was like always on in my house. I don't know if you guys remember The Prince of Egypt.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's a cartoon, but I loved that movie so much, and the voice acting and everything in there, and that was like on constantly. And then every time I think about like really inspiring performances, I think of those bloody cartoons. I mean, there are lots of other very inspiring performances, but yeah, that's something that always stuck with me.
It's so cool how like even animation can like bring you towards filmmaking. You know what I mean? Like obviously as a child, that's the thing that you watch the most, but then not necessarily just a kids movie, or it is a kids movie, but there's something for the adults to also cling on to. And those are the things I think that really stick from animation. And I love animation as well.
Yeah, and I must say, DreamWorks are very good at getting the adults hooked as well. Like now, even when I watch Prince of Egypt or something like that, it's like, oh, I missed that.
Yeah, there's like really complex stories in some of these.
Definitely, like the stuff that's on Netflix now, Over the Moon is brilliant. The one about the, what do you call it? The theme park, I think it's Wonder Park or something like that, is like amazing. Like we're sitting there going, oh my God, is that what happened? Like it's totally invested in this thing that is meant for kids, you know. But yeah, definitely. I mean, animation is always a good time because it helps you escape. I think for me, the play, it wasn't the first play that I saw, and it but it's just the one that sticks out to me the most was Woza Albert by Mongening Emma. I saw it at the Market Theatre for the first time. The version I saw was directed by Prince Lamla, and it was the first time I think I had properly started getting into theatre as a thing at school. And I remember sitting there, and as the show was going on, my mom kept asking me, "Can you do that? Can you do that?" And then I was like, "Yeah, actually, I can." And that's sort of the thing, that the play that made me realize that, you know, this is what I want to do.
That's so cool. Were you like older then, like in high school, or?
Yeah, it was high school. It was definitely high school.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was definitely quite a bit older. You know, because the play is intensely physical and lots of singing, and you know, there's a scene where they pull their pants down and stuff like that. So my mom was like, "Can you do that? Can you do that? Can you do that?" You know, and that's when I was like, "Oh, I can." Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, if I can throw my first like play in the mix, I saw The Lion King when I was like grade 7. We took I'm from Bloemfontein, but we took a road trip with one of the, I think it was the choir or whatever, and we came to Monty in Johannesburg, and we watched The Lion King. That was, I think that like left really a big impression on me. But it wasn't until like high school when I thought like, oh, filmmaking is a thing.
I think what made me love performance, sort of not related to film, since we mentioned a couple of theatre things, is in high school we never had like a theatre subject. Like you could take one externally, but there was a bunch of us who always did the raps play, and it was
Cool.
it was like a thing at Hyde Park where
Yes.
that was started as like a sort of not a sort of trend, but a friend of mine, Evan, he did like an absurdist play that he wrote and directed, and then the next year I think he did it again, and then the year after that I directed an absurdist play. So we kind of like passed down this this torch of like this group of like theater performance kids, when at our high school there wasn't really any of that unless you sort of paid for the extra subject.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I sort of fell in love with, like Waiting for Godot and just absurd, strange things. And we always, we got the sort of, we were kind of like known for making absurd plays, which is cute.
That's really cool though, because like I myself struggle actually with absurd plays because I'm okay, my parents are very rational beings and I grew up in a pretty rational household. So when I watch them, sometimes I'm just like, this is fascinating. I have no clue what's going on. But in a similar way, for me, when I really like made the decision to actually go into acting was actually just I was having a debate on, I think it was euthanasia, with a few friends, and well, we were friends in this group, but it was in front of a whole auditorium of people. And then I decided, you know what, this is just a performance. I've already like written my scripts and whatnot, but this is a performance, and I loved it. And then I went to do a bit of drama, and from then on, just the thrill of being on stage, just it was better than anything I'd done before, because I like did music as well and sports and whatever, and it was just, yeah.
Leading on for that, what do you look for specifically in a character when choosing to accept a role, or what gets you excited about a character?
It used to be which character scares me the most. Like, oh, that one is a little scary. Maybe I should stay away from that role. And then after a while, I didn't scare a lot. So then I started looking for more of relatability with me. Like, how much do I relate with this character? And will I be able to actually breathe actual life into him or her?
Yeah, I think for me, it's got to be the opposite. It's just sort of how far away the character is from me. The further away the character is, the easier it is. I wouldn't say easier, but like, I don't know what better word to use. The easier it is for the character to be portrayed. I think for me, I struggle with stuff that's close to me, because then it doesn't feel like there's any effort being put into it, if that makes sense. So if the character brief is very close to my age and, has my hair type and has sort of similar experiences to me, it's just like, okay, I'll say these lines then. But if the character is so far from me and, from a different place in the world, and it requires me to go online and check where they live and try and get an idea about their circumstances more and things, do more research about them more, those characters are the type that I enjoy, because characters that are closer to me and more relatable, it is a lot harder to find the different nuances to try and separate them from who I am. So I'm not just portraying myself on camera or on stage.
I mean, this is quite a difficult question for me, because I don't necessarily look for the character that I'm going to play. Like, so when they send you like the breakdown of your, the character, they usually include another character. Obviously there's dialogue or whatever, but unless you're just doing a monologue, then you hope that the writing's good. So I always look at the writing first, and if I don't feel like, there can be a story around this, and what's said here, I can in my own head already create a story. I want to have questions, like Cash said, like, where does this person live, blah, 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 that type of thing. But I don't mind playing a character that's close to me, because I want to have an effortless performance. So if it's as Lolo said, if it's not necessarily relatable to me, then I do hesitate a bit, because take maybe the psychology of a person. This is how I understand it, that we're all like squares or cubes. And if you want to carve out another personality from your cube, then you have to like find a way for it to kind of like fit. But if it's maybe like a little bit out of your cube space or something like that, then you really got to stretch. And it's always fun to do that. But yeah, I don't know, am I giving you guys a good idea of what characters then can work for me? Because I'd love to play Bellatrix Lestrange, but I don't think I'll be able to.
That's very cool. I like that, because we got like 3 different answers, which is awesome, because you get all these like perspectives, and like as a writer or a director, it's like interesting to hear what like different actors look for when they're reading a script or looking at a character. So that's very, very interesting. If something that like maybe leads onto that, like maybe it leads onto what Cash was saying, like how do you guys feel about method acting? Are you a method actor? How do you feel about that?
So it's a no for me. Method acting is extraordinarily problematic. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I think in order to make it work, there needs to be a specific way that the method acting is being used. And I think very few people in our industry actually know how to use method acting in a way that is safe for the actor and a way that is safe for everybody around the actor. Because people look at method acting and go, oh, my character is an alcoholic, therefore I'm going to drink for 3 months before I portray the role in order to know what that feels like. But, you'd need to know how to do it safely. And I think that's the thing about method acting, is that there's a high risk of it being unsafe. So it's a no from me.
I kind of agree on a no for the method acting, but I have found myself sometimes, can I say, resorting to method acting because, in a way it is a bit easier. Like I said previously, if you want to carve out a personality from your own personality, then you need to bring certain things of yourself forward to be able to create this character. And in doing so, it sounds a little bit method, because you finding that part of you that's like a chocoholic or an alcoholic, that then you find yourself in the mindset of alcoholism or something like that. Not that I've played an alcoholic character, but yeah. It has happened quite a few times that if I do play an unstable character, or just someone that's generally very unhappy with their life, and I get home and I speak to my parents or something like that, then they're just like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, let me just go lift this character off my shoulders quickly. But I do this without actually knowing that I'm doing it. Which is, I think it is quite dangerous, because if you do get a very extreme character, then I don't want to lose myself in a character,
My case, when it comes to method, I don't have a yes or a no towards it. I guess it also depends on what type of actor you are. If you find that method acting actually helps you, then go for it. Me personally, I actually want to try it once for a character. I just haven't found a character that I think I'd be willing to go the method with it. So, and in the moment with me, I don't have a no or a yes to it. Just depends on your preference.
Yeah, and what works for you, and some people can just be fine with Uterhagen, those questions, and they can create a whole story in their imagination, and that's totally fine. It's just I live myself so into that imaginary world that sometimes I take it with me. And as actors, I think we should realize that this is a business. This is something that we should almost be able to do from 9 to 5 and put it away after 5.
Yeah,
But
there's not enough stress on debriefing, you know what I mean? There's always the
Yeah.
focus on excellent performance, but very few actually speak about the fact that when you get off stage, when the director calls cut, and it's the end of the day, you need to be able to debrief and find ways of doing that, because it can become really, really difficult for you to carry all of these characters with you. And you do it. People may think that it's, over the top or dramatic, but you do carry characters with you. And you'll realize that you do in the strangest of ways. Because you've been in this person's body for about 8 hours, you're rehearsing for hours and hours a day. And, like Adrian was saying earlier on, like your parents or whoever was with you will ask you, like, what's going on? Like, why are you this way? And you don't feel it because you've been sitting in that character for so long. And you don't realize it. So it's very, very important, I think, if you're going to be doing something as demanding, physically, mentally, and emotionally demanding, like method acting, then debriefing is definitely something that you need to make compulsory for yourself.
Most definitely.
exactly.
I think you bring up a really interesting point, because both Kash and Adrian spoke about, Kash spoke about it being dangerous, and then Adrian spoke about how it's sort of difficult to sort of come down from it, or debrief, as you've been saying. And I also, when I first sort of heard about method acting, I was like, how is that sustainable in any way? It's like the same thing when people talk about creativity, and it's like, oh, they can only be creative when they're, in this sort of a state, or X, Y, and Z, or when they've, been like drinking or something, and they've got a very bad sort of dangerous attachment to how they create things. And it's like, no, creativity is a muscle, and it's something, if you're going to be in an industry doing it, it's going to be a job. And you can't just like be like, oh, it's fine, I'm not going to be creative today or something. It's like, how are you going to be able to do your work, if the method acting is messing up how you relate to other people, or how you just function in your normal life? How is it going to be sustainable at all?
Well, you bring up a good point. Like, I'm just thinking of, you get actors that just completely seclude themselves, and they don't particularly, maybe they do have a personal life, but it's very small or something like that, and the people that surround them are fine with, mood swings maybe or something. So I just really think it depends on what environment you create for yourself. So I mean, like, I'm not particularly creative, but I love bringing things to life. So for me, that's my type of creativity, as you said, and I can do that anytime. But as method acting, as that comes into it, it's just like, say you're on a film for 6 months or more, now you make friends with these people in a certain character, and then the next 6 months maybe you're off, and then you can unload the character, and then you turn back to maybe your old self, and then they're like, oh, but you're actually not as cool as I thought you were. And that, for a person in any capacity, I think is devastating, because we're social creatures, and we need to be be able to say, I am accepted in this group of people that I know, or something like that.
Yeah.
Well,
there is a Netflix show, a French Netflix series. I think it's called The Agency, or My Agent, something along those lines. It's basically about a French talent agency. And one of the episodes deals with method acting, and how these agents have to make this man come out of this character, because he went basically from like a man who was living in the woods to playing a businessman, and he wouldn't shave, and he wouldn't bath, and he wouldn't live inside his house. And so like Mark was saying, like, creativity is a muscle. So for method acting, if you're not able to use the method acting muscle in a way that you can also release, then it can become really, really problematic for you and for people around you, because then you become this, like, it's great, like if you do like a TV series and you're on the same TV series for 20 years, and you don't have to change. But if you are needing to be different and have variety in your work, method acting is going to be very difficult, because it can take sometimes months to get rid of a character if you've used method acting to come into it.
Cool. I think this is a very deep conversation, and like I think we've heard so much already that I didn't even consider. So like this is really really cool. But I think if we can move on, let's sort of talk about working with a director. What is sort of like when you're an actor and you're working with a director for the first time or working with them again? What is something that you look for in that sort of relationship?
I would say when it comes to having a relationship with the director, most important one for me would be like for me, I wouldn't want that director that wants to have control over everything, especially when it comes to like a performance wise, because you can have like a director who he wants you to follow each moment of the script, and then when you see it, it doesn't actually work. And so I would say the best director for me is, I wouldn't say laid back because almost the worst type, but open-minded, willing to let go and let the reins go, give the actors the reins and see what they can do with what you've given them. Trust them. That's the word I'm looking for. Trust. That was what I was looking for. Yeah. So I'd say I'm looking for a director that can trust you as a performer.
I've got a lot to say.
Say it.
Okay, so let's start off with, I think one of the points was, what is the relationship with a director, right? Mm-hmm. So a good relationship the relationship that I like with the director is being someone that's not afraid to tell me, listen, as I'm working. And someone also that will, if I do a good job, then, or something unexpected that actually turns out to be pretty good, then they can be like, I actually kind of like that. Let's do one for safety my way, but I like that. Or something, it doesn't matter if you're not going to use it. I don't care. I would like to kind of feel that I'm appreciated by the director, because why else did you choose me? But you get some directors that are just like, game on. I mean, what am I supposed to do with that? It'd be like, dude, did you like it or not? I mean, I'm not someone that seeks validation from people all the time. Like I'm not needy, but I'm doing a job here, and a pat on the back every now and again is that really helps. So another thing that it can really like sway me into the completely other direction of like, I don't ever want to work with this director again, is if they act my lines for me. I hate that, because they're like, no, do it a little bit more like, but I love you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm completely exaggerating, and then it's like, dude, just you can help me with my imagination. Like, if this is a bike that I've been pedaling it since you gave me the script. If you can just like, give a little push every now and again with my imagination, then we have a great relationship. And I'm gonna say Jaco is quite good with that. He really can help build a world in my mind. So yeah.
I think that's a really good point, because I think some directors don't realize. Well, they get into this into this mindset where they think that like the actors are like the puppets there to do exactly what they have in their head, which is probably oftentimes doesn't even work, or it's not even the most interesting exploration of whatever's on the page, or whatever can actually be improvised even better. So yeah, man, line readings annoy me even, because it's like it's just bad. It's just bad directing, and I hear it so many times from different actors that they've had such terrible experiences, and
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. I feel like there's this weird like sort of pecking order as well, where I think you should be able to create an environment where the actor can even say to you, I don't think I'm getting the best direction from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for the director to not have an ego, not and be able to realize that and give them something actually that they can perform, because an actor isn't there to be a puppet. That's not what it's all about.
Yeah, and it's like if it's a safe enough space, then you can it's like a collaboration. If that collaboration is in place, then the acting is usually spot on. Because you can also as an actor suggest like, hey, I don't quite feel this, maybe just using the word direction, how about maybe we do it this way, and then obviously maybe the scene itself changes a bit, and the director as the director can make that executive decision to say yes, no, maybe, and being able to be safe enough to say that.
But also, I think not have an ego in the fact that to like, if the best suggestion, if it's the best suggestion, that's the one that you go with. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of times a director will like stick with a certain thing just because it's the way they've said it, but it's not necessarily like the best idea. Like if a sound person or any department were to like suggest something at craft and that's like the best idea, you'd be so dumb not to do it or at least try it out. Like everyone's there to do the same thing, and I think if you create that kind of environment, then you're going to end up with the best version of that thing.
I think something for me that I really tried out on this last film that we did with Adrian was to just play out the scene before we like shoot it. Because obviously I was staying at the location a day before everybody arrived. So I was like checking it out, how could it work or whatever. But then especially in like the bathroom scene, if you check in Redacted, I had this whole like thing of how I thought it was going to look towards like the window. And then Adrian walks in and she's like, I wouldn't do that. I would just come sit on this ledge here. And I was like, okay. and then we tried it out, and I think it worked out way better than anything that I had in my mind. So I'm definitely going to try to do that more on the next set. Like, I mean, like Mark was saying, it's like, just because I'm the director doesn't mean I know everything. I should be able to decide which is the best idea, but it shouldn't be like just my way is or the highway. You know what I mean? So that was something really cool that I learned on this last set.
Yeah, it's like you're directing, you're like guiding the performance. You're not telling it where to go. You're not saying
director,
do this,
not dictator.
do that. Like, And I also don't understand how that's fun in any way.
No, it's not. But it's what I've realized is it's directors that literally I don't know where it comes from. I didn't go to directing school, but what they do is they have like they draw out their scenes. Like this is what this frame is going to look like, and this is what this frame is going to look like. So they have like a very specific idea of what they want, and it's those types of directors that I found that are very rigid. Like I don't mind rigid, but you hired me for a reason, so a little bit of mutual respect would be great.
Yeah, I think I think I do agree with storyboarding.
Oh, is that what it's called? Okay, now I know.
Yeah. But I think there's definitely room to play within that, You create a plan so that you can play within that plan.
Of course, yeah. No. Storyboarding, as like the biggest example I have of a storyboard is technically like a manga nerd speak. But if you watch sometimes the anime made from the manga, then it's not necessarily the same, because it is someone that redraws, but they have it maybe something that makes it flow better or whatever. So yeah. Flow is the word I'm looking for. It's if there's flow between the actor and the director and what's going on set, then all's good.
Cash, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think everything's been covered. Like just trust each other, trust the process. Make sure that there's a balance. And, if you're going to be a dictator, make sure the things you're dictating are good enough, because everybody's name is on the line and not just yours.
Good point.
That's
yeah.
very true.
It's very true. How many times have I seen a movie that I can see that is something that a director either could have fixed or directed or dictated the actor do, and then everyone is like, oh, it's such bad acting, and I'm like, no, it's not the acting. No, because everything else is fine. It's just like that. Yeah.
I also think that a good director can make any person look good as an actor. Not that acting is easy. I'm not saying that. Acting is obviously, it's a very important art, but I think because I directed this movie in lockdown, and I used my brother, and he's not an actor at all. He's not. So but then what Mark and I were discussing when we wrote the script is that we're going to write it for somebody who's not an actor, and that meant no dialogue. We're not going to give him too much emotions to show. We're gonna use editing techniques to make it look like he's sad. You know what I mean? So I do think that a director should know everybody's craft. Obviously, they don't have to do it, because that takes years to learn. But I think a director can get, if a performance is bad, it's probably the director, not the actor. That's what I was trying to get at.
Wait, so you're saying that a director shouldn't act? Is that what you're saying? Shouldn't learn how to act?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Mark.
I disagree.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's an inside joke, because Mark acted in the first movie that we released this year called Surface Tension.
Awesome.
And I wanted to do it because you can be on one side of things giving a direction, but you don't know what it feels like until you're on the other side. You got to jump
just
on
joking.
the other side to see. No, I knew you were making it specific.
I was just joking. No, look, I mean, there's Ben Affleck. I mean, that guy, he's a really good actor, Argo is still up there as one of my favorite films, and he both directed and acted in that. And it's I can't even look at two things at the same time. It's yeah. So I think it's good for a director to know acting, but what I meant was a good director can get a good performance from anybody. And if the performance is bad, it's usually the director.
But not everybody. You do get very wooden actors. Honestly, okay. I'm sorry. This is something that sometimes it's a very sensitive topic, because many people are just like, no, anyone can be an actor, and it's not true, because some people just don't understand that you're looking for a representation of what happens in real life, or how people would really react in that type of situation. Not always, but
okay, but also what I meant was if you're making a feature film, you're not going to cast a nobody as your lead. You know what I mean?
True.
Unless that person. But if you have to use a nobody, then you're going to put them in a smaller role, and you're going to make sure that role that they're doing is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Part of directing is casting.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but I don't think you're talking about fame. I think you're just talking about, good casting. Like you can have a film like Roma, for example, and they spent, ages casting, and then they found that performer. I can't remember her name, but she's brilliant. But she's a sort of quote unquote no name. But I suppose casting
Amazing, yeah.
is
Yeah, no,
important.
casting is extremely important. And that's also something like if you do use a casting director, then you actually have to know the aesthetic of a casting director. Because if they choose someone because they're pretty and not necessarily like a particularly good actor for this maybe art film that you're making, then good luck.
Kash, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just mean in terms of this whole like casting people who are unknown, especially in today's climate with social media. I don't know if Lolo or Adrian, you guys have ever been asked to fill out how many Instagram or Twitter followers you have on a casting sheet before.
Yes.
And
Couple.
so many roles that deserve excellent actors will be given to somebody based on their social media following or how much they're able to market a television show, simply because they're able to do just that using their following, so it's like it becomes very difficult coming into the industry as a quote unquote nobody, because you have to now break through so many other different barriers other than the fact that nobody knows you.
Yeah, you can't just be a good actor anymore. You have to, you
have to be a
acting
popular
was
actor.
always, but acting, it was always, there was the business side of acting, and then there was the acting side of acting. But now it's like as if is the acting, the business, and social media, and it's like so much bigger than the others. I don't know, it like overshadows almost everything I do these days.
Yeah,
It gets frustrating sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I think if it would become like less frustrating, I mean, it's weird for me to make this suggestion, but I think if now, because the social media has become an aspect of our careers, if it would become more acceptable for actors to have an influence on social media. Do you know what I mean? I feel like people start losing respect for actors who are active on social media and show us what they had for breakfast and all of that jazz. And I think amongst actors in our industry, not even just amongst actors, amongst everyone really, is for it to become more acceptable for that to be an okay thing to do, to be a social media influencer and an actor, because now they come hand in hand and there's no way we can avoid it.
But you know what is also strange? I think at the moment, if you see someone that's a social media influencer that's on a movie set or something like that, then you're just like, you have this bias already towards them that they just got the role because they got followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the case. They might be absolutely fantastic, but then again, that limits them, because they have been seen now by maybe thousands and thousands of people that are like, oh, this is great, and then that's kind of where it stops, because what other director is going to be like, okay, there are other directors that are going to do it, but very few are going to be like, you know what, I also want to put my movie out to these specific people that follow this specific actor, or something like that. I've never really seen a social media influencer go into acting full time. They are still a social media influencer,
And what do you think about, just hearing that, what do you think about, I don't know, this might be a strange question, it doesn't apply, but I always think about the sort of identities that people create on social media. And I was thinking about how that may relate to like typecasting. Do you think that a social media influencer
Absolutely.
that creates an identity for themselves online can almost like typecast themselves?
Yes.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
That is the one dangerous thing, because you can have a social influencer who's known for comedy. Let's say started from Vines and everything like that. So now everyone knows this person as a comedic person. And so now when you have movies like, we want this person, they're going to bring them in to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then every movie they go into next is just going to be them being that comic relief. And which means typecasting. And in my eyes, typecasting is almost the death of an actor.
No, if you think about it, someone like Kevin Hart is doing, well, he was doing very well a few years ago, but he's still doing pretty well. And he started as just improvising in comedy. He's big.
Definitely.
But he always plays the same guy.
No, but this is my point. Like, okay, so, you know, if you understand the business side of acting and you realize that, you know, this is a real dangerous trap that I might fall into, you know, just milk it, because it's going to happen to maybe 90%, 99% of us.
As creatives, we get really upset at the typecasting thing, but as people who need to eat and live, the typecasting thing can be a really good thing.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
Where's the onus on sort of defeating the typecast? Because whenever I think about typecasting, I always just think about like I don't think it's just I think it's a lot of filmmakers just like not being interesting enough, because if you think about I always think about Adam Sandler in I always thought he wasn't sort of very good, and then obviously like Punch Drunk Love, Maya Rovett Stories, and Uncut Gems, these directors like Paul Thomas Anderson like saw something in him that other people didn't, and were able to like, you know, cast him in something else and then be able to like show that range. So I think typecasting is also like a two-way street as well, because it's
True.
I suppose it ties into the sort of business side of things of the actor does that thing, therefore that's the product that they sell, you know, that specific thing. So I suppose it's also like as you say, the business side kind of affects it.
But you have
But it's also a
good
good
point
thing,
there.
as you say, because, you know, gotta eat.
Gotta eat, you know.
But also,
sorry, I'm just thinking of, you know, these platforms that we have now: Netflix, Showmax, HBO, which you can't get in South Africa. They all invest some amount of money into the directors that or, you know, someone pitches something to them and then they're like, yes, here's money, make it. And then, you know, it can turn out absolutely fantastic, or it can not turn out that great, but the guarantee of you actually getting viewers on those platforms are pretty big. I mean, box office isn't really a thing anymore. It's not that, you know, we all go into the movies to watch the release of the next Star Wars or whatever. You know, we can see it online. And in a way that gives us some freedom to make more. But then, as Mark said, the thing comes in again is, you know, creatives are becoming lazy because there's so much, and we just want to create more and generate more. And now we're like, oh, okay, no, we know that's a good actor for this type of role. Just bring them in.
Maybe let's move on to acting sort of education. It's a sort of two-parter, I suppose. Did you study acting, and do you believe it is necessary to study acting to become an actor?
Yes and yes.
Cool.
Great.
Done. Moving on.
No, I want to know why.
Yes, I studied acting. I went to university to study acting. I studied acting at Wits, graduated this year, or if you can call it a graduation, because, you know, the Rona still very tough. And I mean, yes, there are a lot of people in the industry who just walked into it and hadn't gone to a class a day in their lives. And I mean, that's in it. It's like a luxury and a curse, because luxury in the sense that you didn't have to spend 4 years being yelled at by a lecturer who was going to be an actor and then didn't make it and then had to become a lecturer. But then on the other hand, it's also a curse, because there are a lot of things about the industry that acting school will teach you etiquette and all of those things, that you learn in acting school that you need. And if you're learning on the job, it can become very dangerous because your career could stop because you don't know something. Especially now when the film industry is moving super fast. We can be extraordinarily grateful that there are schools like AFTA, Oakfields, all of those colleges who are definitely ahead of the curve in terms of acting and filmmaking and things like that. That walking into a film set now, I think if you don't know about it and you just love acting, would be extremely intimidating. I don't know how you guys feel, but I would find it extremely intimidating if I just saw it on TV and was like, oh my God, I can do that, and then did it, and then was like, it would be really scary.
No, most definitely. And for mine, I would say yes. I did go to university to learn to learn how to act. And in terms of whether it's important to go to schooling for acting, for me, it's like in the middle. So in terms of what Cash said, in terms of etiquette and everything like that, I'd say it's really important to go to a school so they can teach all of that. But in terms of the acting aspect, I wouldn't say you need to go to school, but you do need to practice. It is something that you need to practice. You can't expect yourself to like, you know what, I want to do that. And then you go in and you can't expect yourself to be amazing.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's just the practice. Make sure you're prepared. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Like, I mean, answer the first question. Yes, I did go to school, but not as long as you guys. I only did a year.
In America.
And in America. But it's not, I mean, it's acting school and they taught me a lot. It was in New York. So, it was also very fast paced and I got a lot of exposure. So, yeah. But I am also like kind of stuck in the middle on that because it really depends on who you are. You could be someone with like a lick of talent maybe, and then you go onto a film set, but you've got really like you learn things very, very quickly and you're not like easily intimidated or something like that. You can actually go pretty far because as Jaco said, if you're a good director and a good editor, you can make anyone almost look good. So honestly, like half of this industry is based on luck. Were you there at the right time? Did the right person see you? And then you can be someone with so much talent, like you're a Meryl Streep out of the box, and you don't have to go to university, but then maybe you're a bit shy and things like you just can't get your foot in the door, and then you'll never be discovered. So I really think it's like school gives you that foot in the door because it depends on also what school you go to. That if someone hears the name Juilliard, then they're like, oh yes. I mean, it doesn't mean you're a good actor, but they're like, Juilliard, please.
It's the name.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think it can help you, but it can also be detrimental sometimes to go to school for 4 years to just learn something you already know.
Yeah, it definitely can be dangerous going to school for a very long time, because a lot of the times, especially if you're in a very traditionalist arts school, they're going to teach you the old stuff. And then you're going to walk out and not know the new stuff. Or, you're going to consider yourself to be this heavy theater, like I only work on stage type of actor, when that's not where your livelihood is coming from. So school's good, but like it also depends on where you go, I think, as well. If you are looking into going into acting school, do a lot of research about what you want to get out of the acting school so that you know where you're going. Because if you're going to go to a place for the name, you're not really going to get the tools that you need.
No, that's true. Yeah.
It can become so tricky,
Yeah, but if you're doing acting in the first place, you must believe in yourself somehow, you know. So if you go and study at a university and you committed to those 4 years, then you know, you really have to weigh it up for yourself. I feel like, am I committed to 4 years of schooling where you know, I'm going to go to school, meaning my off time is my off time and I'm gonna have a ball and all that type of stuff? Or are you gonna start from the get-go and make this your job? My school's part of my job. Like, I'm up at 6, I'm going to bed at 11 or 12 or something like that, and I'm looking for jobs in the industry while I'm going to school, because that's also possible, you know. You're going to an acting school and people can your lecturers, if they reasonable and they're not petty or jealous, then they can go like, oh yeah, no, you know, this actually seems like a pretty good opportunity, do it, you know. We'll maybe, because you can get an extension on your exam or something like that.
That's another thing to look into. Why I don't know, you guys who went to AFDA or to colleges would be able to answer this, but universities are very, very stringent on whether or not you can work during your studies.
No, they're not particularly with us.
The university I went to did not allow that. You know, so it's 4 years of school, and it's not 4 years of school and then you can come in with a note from a director saying that you got into a TV commercial or you got into this, that, or the other thing. You know, you really have to know the requirements of where you're going to be able to make the most out of it for yourself and for your education. You also don't want to go waste 50,000 Rand a year and not be there because you're working.
That's true.
A good point. And you said make the most out of it, and that was my answer to, because we ask all the sort of different departments about film school, and then someone asked me, and then I think it's exactly that. It's what you make out of it, because and also I do think the other is after specifically, I think it is detrimental to work. Obviously some people do, and you can, like on the weekends and stuff, but there were a lot of people who did, and then they got you know, like a commercial or something, and then they like just missed out, and after doesn't that's not a good enough reason.
I mean,
they won't be at meetings, and they won't be, but I think you work during honors, and I think honors is a little bit different. It's a little more lax, it's a little more sort of part-time-ish.
True, but I also did a thing during in third year where I was the sound recorder on one of 5FM's MASH labs, and I was going to miss a Friday, and then it was going to go into a Saturday. But that Friday that I was going to miss was literally 3 of my Vala pitches, which is like, for everybody who doesn't know, that's literally where you pitch your project to like a board, and then they like give you feedback and give you the green light or not. And so I had to go through a bunch of people, eventually got to the dean, and they said, yeah, well, you know, we're not going to stop you from making money, but also we can't not let you be there. And then what ended up happening is I just like recorded myself doing my pitch as a video, and then they just played it at the pitch. So it wasn't really, in that sense, they were really open to it. But I think also it's different when you do it once and when you do it the whole time.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Like, I must say, listening to you all, it was a bit different in New York, because the people that go to school there, we weren't like, I mean, it was serious, obviously, like you're paying a heck of a lot of money to be there. But it's also, you know, if you got an opportunity to work, then you should just like talk to your teachers or something like that. But me as an international student, I wasn't allowed to work unless I got a work visa. So I couldn't anyway. But there were children or people from
Students.
Students, thank you, from America itself that got jobs, and they were like, okay, I am here all the rest of the time. I'm going to take this week off, and this is like the max of my absences. But that was okay, because you're allowed to have this many absences or something like that. Yeah.
True. And I mean, I don't know if you guys ever did this, but like I would skip class every now and then. And like I feel like it's the same. You just don't tell them, and then you don't pitch up for that one class, and you just go do the job, and then you catch up. Is that just me? Is that just me? Okay, sorry.
I never skipped a class.
I don't think as an
Mm.
actor you don't want to miss anything. Like those days where you literally you wake up, you're like, there's 10 minutes until I need to be in class. Like you don't shower, you go. Because that was for me, I remember that happened to me quite a few times. I wasn't sleeping in a particularly fantastic place, or living in a fantastic place. So sleep was sometimes very elusive. And that almost impacted my schooling, because I got a lot of lates. But if you absent, then you really missed something. You could learn something from someone else's performance. Why would you miss that? And here's this opportunity that you are paying for, to learn with other people, and learn from someone that's maybe in the industry themselves. That was how it was at my school. So yeah, no, it's not something you can just catch up, because they don't record anything.
Fair enough.
True.
Cool. I think we need to start wrapping up. Let's talk about COVID. How has the industry changed for you guys since everything happened, and people were locked down? I mean, yeah, I mean, like even I went back to Bloemfontein thinking, oh, it's just going to be 3 weeks and then I'm going to come back, and then it just lasted forever. How's your sort of experience been being actors looking for work in a global pandemic?
Well, I would first say, being an actor during this pandemic, when it started, jobs were lost, like gigs were lost, like poof, gone. And recently, I would say it's starting to kind of get better now. Seems like I am managing to find some gigs, but like in the middle, it was dead quiet. I'm sure we can all agree on that one. It was dead quiet anywhere. And so fingers crossed that, after 2020 is done, I don't know, it will become a little easier. That's all I can say.
I don't know. For me, it was just, the pandemic was a huge eye opener. I mean, yes, I did finish varsity with the intention of being an actor, but for the sake of an income, I started the year teaching, and I was teaching full time. And so what the pandemic brought for me was the realization that if this is what I want to do, I need to actually have the time to do it, and not go into a full-time. It's great to have a full-time job and everything, but then I spent 4 years studying essentially my dream, and wasn't doing it. So the pandemic completely showed me that, if I want to do this thing, then I have to actually do this thing, and not use lack of finances or anything else as an excuse not to do the thing. It's been a huge experience. Bring Light was gotten, self-taping auditions. I don't know how you guys feel about those. Have been a huge eye-opener. I hate watching myself, so I've had to learn to do that. My essentially coaching my family on how to read in for me. It's been a team effort in my household, to make this acting thing work. So yeah, it's been a big adjustment, but I think a good one, because it's where the world has been forced, especially South Africa, has been forced to go into a direction it would have taken a long time to go into, with regards to self-tapes and so on and so forth. So at least now with the pandemic, we've all been pushed right into the deep end and we're all swimming.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't know the industry really before the pandemic, if I can say it like that, because I was here for about 3 months and then the pandemic happened. So I wasn't really like in any, I didn't do any work or anything like that. So I was mostly still like, do I want to go back to New York or do that type of, I was in limbo. So when the pandemic happened, I was like, okay, well, this is what happens when you procrastinate. Like the world shuts down on you.
The biggest karma in the world.
Right, that's really how I felt. So for me, I was with this pandemic, I was really I was reading a lot of plays and screenplays, and yeah, no, that was a whole nother part of it, like learning for me once again, because like as an actor, yes, you read plays and stuff like that, but you read what you're interested in, and I was like, I have to do something for my job, because if you don't know the literature and what everyone's talking about, then you're going to be like, what's going on? And you're just going to be a pretty face once again. It's like in any industry, really. If someone's talking to you about this specific thing that like everyone else knows and you're the only dimwit that doesn't, then sorry for you. So it's not really a lot to do with the industry, but it was quite isolated in New York as well, similar to what it is here now, in the sense that you've got to do everything yourself. You've got to put up your own content and promote yourself. Not that I'm particularly good at that. I am very, very bad on social media and whatnot. But
join the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There have been so many courses as well during lockdown.
Yeah.
About like social media and all of those things, and it's so difficult to brand yourself as because now you need to be a brand. You can't just be an actor, you have to be a brand. What is your brand? And you never thought you needed to have one, but now you do, and then the brand you want is already taken. It's just
True.
So then leading from that, right? And this will be the final question. What is something that you want to say either to yourself right now or to other people sort of feeling the way that you're feeling? Just some inspiring words for other actors, maybe South Africa, maybe around the world. So what is something that you're telling yourself during this time as motivation?
I'd say the most important one is believe in myself. I gotta believe in my dream, believe in that what I am doing isn't a waste of my time and everything like that. I just tell myself that it was a choice you made and you're gonna stick with it through thick and thin. You're married to this. You're married to it, and this is one thing you don't want to let go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and this is and it also comes back to it will come back to me as it's a dream of mine, and I know if I don't carry on with this dream and if I just let it go, I don't think I'll be extremely happy, because I'm living with this thought that I let go of a dream, let go of who I could have been. So I'd say the biggest advice would be just to believe in yourself and trust in what you're doing. It's not a waste of time.
the big T word.
Yeah.
Trust.
Yeah.
I think another thing is wanting it. You have to want to do it. Acting, a lot of actors will say to you, oh, I did it because I didn't know what else to do at varsity. I did it because, I helped someone with a project and then the gigs kept coming. But they kept doing it because they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
You have to want to do it. It's very hard. You will spend years auditioning and losing roles and watching people get the roles you thought you were going to get, and you keep going because you want to do it. And if you're genuinely sitting there going, I don't want to do this thing, then you have to stop. Yeah, you can do side gigs and do this teaching and, whatever else that you need to do to keep a livelihood. But to keep acting, you have to want to do it.
That is so true. Yeah. I think many times, like I've had many people ask me, like, where were you the last 2 years? And I say, I was in New York and acting. And then they'd be like, oh, wow, that's so great. That's amazing. And I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, it was just like, it was experience. It was school. And, many people then they say, no, but other people wouldn't do that. They're not brave enough or something like that. And I'm like, no, if you make that decision, like you are gonna go and do this thing, you're gonna spend almost R1 million just to go overseas and study a little bit or something like that, or you're gonna spend that 50,000 Rand a year and you're gonna study acting, or you're gonna put your time into this, then yeah, as Cash said, you gotta want it. So I think my inspirational words is like, ask yourself, is this something that you really want to do? Because acting is it's not just fun, it's not games, or it's not fame. It is hard work. It is humiliating work sometimes. So are you strong enough in yourself to be able to be like, hell yeah, bring it on, and walk that path with yourself, because you're not walking it with anyone else, and look at yourself in the mirror each day and say, I can still do this. It's just that question of like, do I want to? So it's not particularly inspiring, but if you can tell that to yourself, you will feel inspired, because wanting to do anything, I think for a person with an actor inclination or personality is like, it's already sold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's very essentially looking at it as an actor, you're willing to do over, I don't know how many, 50 essentially interviews a year. No other industry has that. A doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a teacher aren't going to go on as many job interviews as an actor. And that's essentially what we do every single time we audition, is going on a brand new job interview with a newly printed CV, and when to go and have your ID documents certified and your matric certificate. So, it's a lot to do that every single time, and you're going on a new job interview every single time, and you keep not getting jobs, or you get them and you don't get them. You have to want to suffer like that.
Yeah. No, that's true. It is almost like suffering. And you know what? It's not just auditions. I feel like it's literally every interaction I have with people. It's like, where they ask, everyone asks you these days, oh, so what do you do? And you're like, I'm an actor. Like,
and then you haven't done anything for the whole year, because no one understands that it's a pandemic and it's impossible to do that.
Right. Yeah.
No one's accepting. No one's like, come on now, shooting something.
Yeah.
And then they tell you stuff like, do it on your phone and Instagram. So,
We are.
Oh yeah, but you are the exception.
But also we're not paying, so I know what you mean.
No, but for actors, like honestly, sometimes if it's a good job and it's not paying, do it. Seriously.
Yeah.
If you want to, like, if you know the people you're working with, or the story is good, and stuff like that, you will gain so much by just having that experience. And right now, I've gotten a few contacts from this movie that we did with Yaku in the last few weeks. People have said, this is great, would you like to work on something else with us or something like that? So it's like, and I did it for free, and it was grueling work. I mean, I was dead after that. So halfway through that, I was like, why am I doing this? Oh, wait, I know why I'm doing this.
Awesome. Cool, guys. I think let's wrap it up there. That was really cool. Thank you guys so much. This was a really fun conversation. I think we all learned a lot. I'm sure everybody who's listening learned a lot or watching. So yeah, thanks so much for coming through. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was great. Thanks for coming in.
So yeah, I think until next time, see you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
It was fun.
Okay.
It's nice to
Bye.
meet you, Cash. Nice to meet you,
Nice
Lolo.
to meet you guys too. Hope
Nice
to see
to
you all
meet you.
soon in person.
And that's it for this conversation about acting. Thanks so much to Kash, Adrian, and Lolo for participating in such a great conversation. I hope you really learned something.
Thank you so much for watching this podcast. Remember that we released the full audio version almost 3 weeks earlier, and that's available on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere else that you listen to your podcasts. If you enjoyed this video, please consider smashing the like button. And while you're down there, just in the general vicinity, might as well press the subscribe button. We release a new podcast every month, with a new video every Tuesday and every Friday, with a new short film on the first Friday of every month. So until next time, go out there, stay safe, make your movie.